Everybody's being so good and patient. Thank you. Even the littlest ones are as quiet as church mice right now. Thank you. We just officially can't start until 6:35 in our room that we often meet in before the meeting to update the agenda and things is occupied. So here we are. But we'll be with you in about 4 minutes. And a reminder, we do have a sign-in sheet on the table on the wall side. If you didn't sign in, that's always good. Okay, so Nikki sticky on the wall says we can begin. So please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for September 17th, 2012. Here, roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes.
Thomas Wood. Here. Martin Mannix. Here. Paul Lemoyne.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 259, approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of September 17, 2012 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
I have a couple of corrections that I want to point out and taken care of.
There's one in particular where the alignment of the voting was not correct. I know that one has. I'm not sure what the other one
That
was.
was it. That was it.
That was the big one. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix. Yes. Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Now, we get to the good stuff. Thank you all for coming. Fantastic. Fantastic. Erin Pangborn has some very special trophies that she's going to be sharing with some of our young people, some very distinguished awards for their summer work. I want to remind everyone this is being videotaped, and it will be on cable TV on Mondays, so check if you have Charter Cable, check the guide. You can DVR it or whatever, send it on to Grandma and Grandpa. So when the boys and girls come up, Aaron, we want to get them right in the camera if we can. Congratulations to all of you, to everyone who showed this evening. Thank you, Aaron.
Which means you have to look this way. Just don't look over here. Don't make it look good, you know.
Good evening. My name is Erin Pangborn, and I am currently the Recreation Program Coordinator for the town. We have recently finished our summer baseball-softball program, and would like to recognize several participants for their outstanding commitment and sportsmanship throughout the season.
Aaron, is the switch on the mic?
Yes.
Okay.
Overall, our whole summer season was a huge success, but we would like to acknowledge those players who have been positive role models for their fellow teammates and opponents. Our most dedicated player award goes to individuals who demonstrate these qualities, as well as go beyond what we ask of them. The following players lead by example on and off the field, and that is why the Recreation Department feels these participants are highly deserving of the most dedicated award. We hope that this will reinforce positive behavior for all participants in the future. All of these players' coaches had nothing but positive comments about these recipients. We are very proud that these kids are part of our programs. When I call up your name, if you can just come up and look at your trophy and your certificate. So from our East Morrisonville Grasshopper softball team, congratulations to Allison Garman. Looks like she was just at soccer.
If we had a ball, we could have her demonstrate some of her skills.
All right, from our Cumberland Head Grasshopper softball team, congratulations to Brooke Brouet. I believe this is the second year in a row that she's won this. From our East Morrisonville Grasshopper baseball team, congratulations to Caleb Stanton.
Now make sure you pause here for a second.
From our Katyville Grasshopper baseball team, congratulations to Christian Ryan.
Chris, no. to see you on TV.
From our North Plattsburgh Grasshopper baseball team, congratulations to Victor Mason. From our North Plattsburgh Pee Wee softball team, congratulations to Gracie Walters. From our Cumberland Head Pee Wee #2 baseball team, we had 2 recipients. Congratulations to Jalen Belrose. And also from our Cumberland Head Pee Wee baseball team #2, we have Brandon Belrose. And from our Katyville Pony baseball team, congratulations to Eric DeLutis. And we had 2 recipients who were unable to attend tonight due to being at soccer games. So congratulations to James Conway. He was on our East Morrisonville Pee Wee baseball team. And also to Benjamin McCaslin. He was on our Cumberland Head Pee Wee #1 baseball team. I would also like to thank all of the parents of our recipients tonight for dedicating your time this summer. Our programs continue to be a success because of participants and parents like you. Thank you for your support.
Great job.
Thank you all, Sarah, and we appreciate this, that we've added to the program you've added the last couple of years, recognizing the youngsters, giving them something visual that's going to be staring them in the face to next year trying to achieve the same goals, and that's important. And just to underscore what she said, parents, we've all been there. You know, if you have children, the running, when you have them going 2 directions, 3 is really difficult, as we all know. Thank you, grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles. It does take a lot of time. It's an awful lot of dinners that are interrupted and delayed. But I hear Harrigan's loves it, so it seems to work pretty well, doesn't it? But thank you all. It is important to the community and certainly to the children. The adults are modeling some pretty special things here too, so we appreciate it. And our coaches, they do a great job, so thank you, all of you. We have some more stuff to do tonight, but I see some youngsters that need to get in, get some homework done maybe for tomorrow. So we're going to just take a very short pause while we transition. You're always welcome to stay, but we understand you achieved your goals tonight. Thank you and drive safely. Years in a row. We'll be looking next year. No pressure.
Keep an eye on her. Thanks. So wonderful thing you've got.
I'll give you a read.
Hey. I know, I think this picture is
Rick, is the camera going to pick that up when he... Oh, you're showing it over there? Okay, that works. I was thinking, yeah, good. I was thinking in the middle of it. that works. So you'll want to turn to it. Okay, the next thing that we want to do before we get to the public portion is another presentation. Paul has worked for a number of months on the lighting district consolidation, which we've achieved, and continuing to work on the implementation of the takeover of the existing lights, the purchase, the setting up of the future budget of the consolidated districts, the rate, etc. And has a presentation for us. We've seen this in work session. I don't know if any counselors want to slide back to see it again, and a little easier than the angle. Certainly feel free to. I think Ricky's going to kill a couple lights for us, and he's taping it so it will also appear as part of the cable TV broadcast. So whenever he's ready, Paul will walk us through what he's achieved.
Just a short. No, it's already there. I just disabled this device. He tried to make an electronic phone device work, and for some reason we ran out of time.
Do you leave that electronic for you?
No, and it's a good thing because it just doesn't work.
I believe Murphy's Law was sent to the Secretary of State, Counselor, so it is actually, it is down there.
Okay, so it's working.
Laws in practice.
As long as it's not a tax.
There. All I had to do was take away everything Phil did for me to try and make it work. Just a short history of where we got, how we got to the street lighting thing. Obviously, I don't know if many of you know, but I'm in the electrical industry. It's always one of my pet peeves when I drive down streets and the street lights aren't working. It drove me crazy. Try to figure out how and why, how we get them repaired quickly, what we do. So just a quick history. In the 1950s, give or take a couple of years, NYSEG started selling street lighting to municipalities for a couple of reasons. The first one being they created extra energy during the daytime to be up for all the industry that needed it during the daytime. So all that energy is created, and it's in the grid. They create it during the daytime. They've got it. It's free. They've already made it, and it's just sitting in the grid. They had to try and figure out something to do with it to make money. So they started renting streetlights to municipalities. Obviously, they got to use the energy, and they made some money off it too. Coincidentally, they actually sold it pretty cheap at the start of the whole thing. Over 60 years, we've continued on the same course. We rent the equipment, they sell us the electricity, and life is good. NYSEG's happy, they're selling their energy, and they're making a fair buck on renting equipment, some of it that's still 60 years old. Facts about our current street lighting: the cost to rent the equipment in the town of Plattsburgh is $93,000 and some change. They've actually been doing a new inventory study that's going to tell us exactly what's out there, because even they didn't really know what was out there in their own system. So they're working on a new inventory system. They're getting close. They've actually found some billing errors in doing it, and they're working through some of that stuff. And they're getting very close to be able to present us with that information. $13,215 in street lighting costs were paid out of the general fund for intersections not in the street lighting district. This was 105 street lights throughout the town. I can tell you, I know a few. There's one down at the ferry landing. There's a couple on Banker Road. There's a couple. They're scattered out throughout the town. Wherever there was a need for a street light, that there wasn't a street lighting district, the general fund just started picking up the tab for those 105 street lights at a cost of $13,215 in 2012. Residents in a street lighting district really paid twice for this, because you pay a street lighting tax, and then your sales tax and whatever that went in the general fund also paid for those 105 streetlights that probably should have been in a lighting district back then. The average tax rate from 2002 to 2012, you see they started out in 2002, and that's as far back as I went. 48.87 cents per thousand, and that's an average, down to 23.96 cents per thousand right now in 2012. The highest being 29, I think it's 29.4 cents per thousand, the lowest being 19, I think it's 19.7 cents. It's 19 cents per thousand, give or take a little bit. But so I averaged that together, and that's how I came up with the average of all the tax rates. Coincidentally, it was coming down because we were paying off the cost of actually installing those lights that NYSEG charged. Reasons to change direction. This is my biggest pet peeve. NYSEG does absolutely zero preventive maintenance. They only will respond if there's a light out, and then they don't respond very quickly. They used to, when they sold this to municipalities, they really fronted up that they would have a street lighting crew that would go around to each municipality, and they'd maintain the lights, and they'd change the lamps on a regular basis, and they'd take care of all that stuff through every municipality. Well, as NYSEG started to get leaner and leaner and leaner, the number of linemen that they had started dwindling down to the point now they have no street lighting crew. It's linemen that go out and fix these street lights whenever they wind up going out. We're actually at the bottom of NYSEG's food chain when it comes to street lighting. If they have 5 new customers to connect and 6 customers out of service and 2 street lights not working, I can tell you where we fit in that food chain every day, and we'll continue to be at the bottom, because every time they have a new priority, that street light just keeps falling to the bottom. They'll get to it when they get to it. There's no hurry. They actually take and reduce the electric bill every month because they know a percentage of street lights aren't going to work. So they right now reduce the bill by a percentage to accommodate knowing that they have lights that don't work. The town actually currently owns part of the inventory. There's several of the new developments that went in that the town actually owns that infrastructure. And all we do is basically rent from NYSEG the ability to latch onto their pole, and then we pay for the energy. NYSEG is actually supposed to do the maintenance on them. For several years, we wound up doing the maintenance ourselves. Our town staff is already trained. Again, we've installed several. We've maintained them for a good number of years, at least the town-owned ones. And from time to time, we've even fixed one of theirs. We would wind up with a faster response and repair time, certainly probably even the next day, depending on how busy the intersection was. It could be certainly done even the day it was called in. And the number one reason, as they would say, is it's certainly cheaper. The cost to own our own streetlight, and I really did this so we could all figure out where we're at. $100,000 a year plus interest on a ban for 4 years to buy the equipment. That's pending the town board signing the agreement that we're tentatively agreeing to. $18,200 a year for the first year for electrical disconnects. NYSEG requires that. Once we own the streetlights, it's nothing more than if you envision a lead cord. We would unplug the lead cord, work on our street light, and then plug it back into NYSEG's utility. It just protects their utility from a short. It's fused, so that if there's a short in the light, it blows the fuse rather than taking out their infrastructure. $50,000 to buy a used 45-foot bucket truck. We've actually looked at this. It's probably closer to $40,000. It should last 10 years, probably much longer than that because it's driven very few miles a year and would wind up indoors, so it could last maybe twice that long. But I tried when I put this together to budget very conservatively and make sure that we would meet the cost. A $612 pole connection fee. This is what NYSEG is going to charge us for the town to actually hang the street light on their pole. Yeah, that would be a yearly charge to NYSEG. The electricity, $23,105 annually. Maintenance and equipment, I estimated $25,000. You're going to see later on that the lamps that we're anticipating changing each year cost $2,000. If that number is over $10,000, I would be absolutely shocked. I'd be blown away. But again, I wanted to make sure we budgeted high so that we made sure we'd meet the expenses in the thing. Insurance would be $5,183.20. Coincidentally now, even the ones that our town owned aren't insured, and this would also include the traffic signal lights that are around the town that the town owns. That would be included in this insurance policy. A return to the general fund, and I had to come up with something because the guys we pay to go and do maintenance on this, their salary has to be paid for by somebody, and it shouldn't be paid for out of the general fund. It should be paid for out of the street lighting fund. So we're going to take their salary, their benefits, and the other costs to do business in the street lighting that was really taken out of the general fund and has been for years. We'd return that money to the general fund. May not be exactly $30,000, but again, an estimate on my part. 10-year cost to own the streetlights in the town of Plattsburgh. $270,000 the first year. We have to pay off the ban. We have the $20,000 roughly to buy the disconnects. We have to have the one-time charge for that, and then the pole connection fees will have it. You see it drops down after that because and that includes the $50,000 for the bucket truck. So it drops down $70,000 because we don't buy the bucket truck and we don't have to buy the disconnects after year one. It remains constant through those next 3 years until the ban is paid for and all the equipment belongs to the town of Plattsburgh. And then when you get right down here to 2017, it's $102,283, and you see it goes up gradually. I took on every cost associated with this: the pole connection fee, the electricity charge, the insurance, every cost you saw on the last page, and I added 5% per year to each of those costs. So that's why you see it going up. There's no way in this world the Public Service Commission is ever going to allow NYSEG to increase their rate by 5% in a year. But again, I wanted to make sure that I was realistic and that we'd meet the cost. And everything I projected here is going to be met on time or much earlier than I projected. We get to 2022, we're $115,000 a year. This is what actually a street light costs. And you don't, until you're in this business, you wouldn't know. The fixture is about $300. Photo cell is about $6. The lamp's $12. The disconnect that we have to buy is $15. Miscellaneous hardware, nuts and bolts to attach the arm to the pole. The aluminum arm, $314 average. It's $150 for a 12-foot arm. It's $512 for a 24-foot arm. So the average $314. It's about what we spend on most of them. Labor to install one, $270. Total cost, $942 to put one street light up. The cash surplus that we have. This is actually how we're paying for a lot of it short term. You'll see in the first year, the cash surplus, that's where we are right now in 2012, 352,000. That's actually up a little bit because I use the budget numbers, and there's going to be some money at the end of the year that was budgeted in those that's going to make that creep up just a little bit more. Not significantly, but a little bit. You see we dropped down to 204,000. That's in order to meet the expenses along with what we're going to take in on the tax side to be able to pay for it. We're going to dip into that cash reserve for the first 4 years until we actually pay for the equipment. And everything's paid for at the end of 2016. And then you see it start to climb back up. You'll see it dips back down a little bit here, and I'll show you a little bit later. It's because I got to a point where I said, you know, the state comptroller is never going to allow us to have more funds in that account than we probably currently have now. So at some point, from what I propose for a tax rate, we're going to have to reduce it even farther. Or we're just going to continue to multiply money in there, and I don't think they're going to allow that. Maintenance plan. This is what I propose we do every year. Our guys would visit 12.5% of the street lighting each year. Coincidentally, that's the lifetime of a lamp. In 8 years, our guys would go see every single street light in the town of Plattsburgh once every 8 years. That's the life expectancy of the lamp that's installed there. When they change the lamp, clean the lens, check the photocell and ballast, and clean the lens, that would improve the light by about 20%. Cost for the lamps each year, this is the number I was telling you about, is about $2,000. That's to change 12.5% in the town. Preventive maintenance is going to mean fewer outages and obviously fewer service calls. Once we get through an 8-year cycle of actually us maintaining them, there'll be very few outages in this town. I mean, I'm in this industry and I know that, you know, the lights that flicker on and off, it's just the lamp. If somebody went and changed the lamp, that's all they'd have to do and the fixture would work fine for another 8 years. We're going to be a little proactive, change them every 8 years, and because we have GIS mapping, they'll know that they went to that fixture 2 years ago and maybe changed the ballast, and while they were there, they changed the lamp. So we're not going to change that one. And if we do change it, we're going to put the lamp aside knowing it's only got 2 years of life taken out of it. So we can stick it in somewhere knowing we're going to go to another light 4 years from now. We aren't just going to throw them away. And they'll keep pretty close track of that. Time to complete the 12.5% per year, and this is from our building and grounds people that have worked on them several times. It'll take 2 men about 3 weeks during the year to visit 12.5% of the streetlights. A couple things I found when I was doing this. There's 8.5% of the property in the town that's not currently in a lighting district. The other 91.5% is. $103 million in property isn't in the lighting district, but should be. And again, I'll pick on Lake Champlain Ferries. They've got $1.4 million worth of property down there, and there's a street light right at the end of Thomas Commodore Highway. And the only reason that street light's there is so people exit the fairway can see that intersection. I mean, is it fair that everybody else pays for that, or should they be in the lighting district? I think they should be in the lighting district. So those are some of the people that should be in the lighting district. Coincidentally, there's $6 million in property owned by New York State Electric and Gas that's not currently in the lighting district. Total assessed value of town of Plattsburgh for 2013, coming from our assessor, is approximately $1.4 billion. In projecting the tax rates, I've projected growth in the town for the next 10 years of $15 million each year. The average over the last 10 years has been $34 million in growth each year. So again, I projected very low to make sure we meet that number. This is the one that everybody's concerned about, the projected tax rate. You remember it was 23.96 cents per thousand. This year, I propose in January 1 to drop the rate to 11 cents per thousand townwide. And that would continue out until you saw where we reached the cash surplus where we are now again. And then we're going to have to lower it lower. I lowered it to 8 cents and then 7.5 cents. And you may find that that goes up quicker and we have to lower it even faster. That's my belief that it will, but we can certainly maintain this. And then the last thing I have, and then I think we're going to take questions. We all share the benefit, and this was the thing with the Lake Champlain Ferry. We probably should all share the cost. I know the town of Union did this 25 years ago. Actually, their deputy supervisor was here the other day, and Bernie met with them, and they don't regret a single step of having done this. taking it over, maintaining it. They've saved thousands of dollars over the years, and they're very happy with the path they've chosen. That's it.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
We do have the public recognition session next. I know there are probably some of you are here because of this. We'll certainly field a couple of questions if there are any concerning the lighting district at this point. If not, we'll move forward. Let's wait a second. We'll get our mic over, Rick. And just for the record, for the audio, we'll get a name, an address, and we'll have it all down and do that. We need it.
Dave Hinsman from Road. Certainly no expert in economics, but every graph I've looked at on a national level and so forth, it's all exponential. And to me, that I don't know how you can say in the world we live in that we can believe in those projections. I think it's just wishful thinking. Somehow it looks as though you think there's a disconnect between national financial issues and what's going to go on in the town of Plattsburgh.
Okay. And John, I think you want to.
Yeah, thank you. My name is John Andrus. I live on Cumberland Head, and kudos to Mr. Lemoy. Seems like put a lot of work into that. But my question is, again, it seems to be, what is the impetus behind this? Are we really saving money? If you had an excess in that fund, what I saw was about $300,000 at the end of this year. What's the genesis here? Are we replacing NICEAG just to put people on payroll? Are there that many service complaints about lights that are out, that don't work? Is that the big issue? It seems like you're creating a tax entity in the lighting district just to raise revenue for that discrete account, to take back or put back, not take from what you have as your general fund. The general fund seems to be a sacred word around here. Why is it so sacred? I think you'll answer that probably later, but I don't understand what the impetus is about creating this and projecting out. I agree with Dr. Hinsman, project out 20 years? 10 years. That's a pretty good crystal ball for budget, considering the economic times that we're in. And I think we're in desperate times. That's all I want to say.
Anyone else?
Just a quick comment. I was just wondering if you did any sort of analysis of taking that.
Holly, right?
Holly Sims,
Thank you.
Cumberland Head. Any sort of analysis of taking that $3 million or 2 point whatever million and applying it to some long-term debt to see where is the better use for that money?
It was only 300,000.
300,000.
Yeah.
Same scenario, you know.
Anyone else who'd like to react to the presentation?
John, St. Germain, Katyville, New York. If you have $387,000 surplus in the lighting thing, that indicates to me that you've collected a tremendous amount of tax dollars that you really shouldn't have been collecting. That's our tax dollars that you've been holding in a reserve fund for to the tune of $387,000. And I know that when you look at that and then you look at your overall budgets, this is what you also do in your entire budget, because you have tremendous surpluses of last year $1 million you used for the highway and water and sewer, or for general fund. So I think that based on what you're showing for a assessed value rate for electrical is probably somewhere around those projections that you laid out there those real low ones of around 10, 11 cents instead of the present 26 cents because you've been accumulating all this extra money.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm Deb Blake. I saw this presentation last week, and I was concerned because I did the math of the projected costs, and it comes up to the $1.5 million range over the next 10 years. And if we did nothing, it would only be about $1,250,000. So it's costing more over the next 10 years. Now, Paul said that he added 5% in, but apparently didn't add 5% on the other side. So if you're not treating all the figures the same, we really don't know anything.
Okay. Anyone else?
Fred Ward, another Cumberland area. I guess my question is, what would be the cost to us budgetarily for doing nothing this year in times of austerity when we should be looking at perhaps cutting back and building up our funds for the future? What do we look at immediately as the cost of this project?
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We will move into the portion of our meeting for public recognition for any other reason. There have been some good questions. It's difficult sometimes while we're trying to do business in this session as opposed to other opportunities to get in a give and take. And I think most, if not all, this was targeted at Paul because he did the presentation. He's really worked on this, but obviously the board, has been listening and guiding and encouraging. And out of respect to Paul, he knows how to get in touch with you individually. He knows how to call a meeting, a special meeting to further just engage and discuss, and I'll defer to him with whatever he wants to do with that. There were some interesting views, and I also recall taking a course in college called How to Lie with Statistics 101. I mean, we all know how you can manipulate numbers, but I'm always careful not to make the assumption that the data I'm looking at was manipulated. And my comment to some of you, and has been within our own group, the bottom line, I think Fred to some extent really addressed that as well. To do nothing means we keep giving a utility almost $100,000 a year to do something we can do at a lower cost. To do nothing would mean we could begin to use the surplus to reduce the rates to some extent, have less surplus, which is in essence what we're doing in this transition, but still at the mercy of the utility to control any of the costs. Depending on what street you live on, there are people that don't want lights. There are people that, some of them on this board, that want a more energy efficient light, changes in lighting that doesn't disperse the way stereotypical traditional lighting does. Those who want more light, those who want less light. But if you're at an intersection, certain people with their home, the security, and we've got one resident right now who's been asking for some time to get a light because they are concerned where they live, and they're in the LeBaire Street. We're able to respond to that, and to those people, that makes a big difference. In my mind, any time that I transfer a cost to a service that would go outside of my community to someone in my community who can do it, there's a benefit in the way that money turns over locally versus turns over, and I believe NYSEG is now owned by a Spanish firm. I'm not interested in sending my money to Spain. It's sort of like in our families, and we decide, is this the right time to buy a car or not? Should I put money in it, put some new tires on, and drive her a little longer? Somebody who wants a car will probably fight a pretty good argument that we're throwing good money after bad. We just need to, move forward. We've really given this a great deal of thought. There are a lot of ways to look at it, but we're paying rental for hardware that was put up in the 50s. It's been paid for and paid for and paid for, and as long as they own it, we'll keep paying for it. When we own it, we don't have to. It's like the lease over buy, rent over own, and there are pretty good arguments both ways. But to do nothing is exactly that. It's nothing. We have a proposal we really think will save money and enable us to better predict the future than let somebody else predict it for us. So, and I hope, Paul, I just didn't want to put you on the spot, but I also don't want those of you that made comments tonight to feel like nobody's paying attention, because we are. And there might be, in a work session or another forum, if there are real concerns, I'm going to say for Paul, give him a call, throw him an email. His contact information is very public. You may have a view on something. Debbie brought an issue up with the numbers that, I mean, we can miss things. We never claim to be perfect, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll get back to you. The motive is a simple one. The motive is to try and reduce the cost of a service and provide a better service. Paul, is there anything you want to finalize with that, or summary sufficient?
Yep.
Okay. Next, I would like to go into the general public recognition. Anyone has any comments that they'd like to bring up this evening? Again, we ask you to please state your name, address, try and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
And again, my name is Holly Sims. And if I had known that Mr. Lemoyne was going to send up the PowerPoint, I would have borrowed it, so.
We'll send it to you.
I'm actually gonna make it available to Bernie, and we're going to put it on our website, so.
Oh, well, so I brought you guys hard copies, I'm sorry, we're going back to the old-fashioned way. But I have a couple things I'd like to talk to you about. It may take more than 5 minutes. Is there anybody who would let me borrow their 5 minutes if I need it? Okay, I don't think I'll take that.
For some reason, I knew you were going to get that support.
Would you guys each take these and pass them down, please? And thank you for the nice presentation, Mr. Lemoyne. My whole comment was on the rate of return of the electrical project versus taking that money and paying down debt. And I was just wondering if anybody has looked at that, to see where the greatest rate of return would be.
I just need to ask one question, just for clarification. On paying down the debt, do you mean just debt in general?
It could be debt for the lighting department. I don't know how much they have. It could be debt for the entire, I know.
You can only use that money in lighting.
Yeah, exactly.
You can only use it in lighting, so you can't transfer it out. So we basically collected too much in lighting then for these many years.
And you need to realize that was collected over numerous years. I'm not going to give any guess. We'd have to go to the budget office, but that was collected over several years, and it was amassed with the intentions of, if anybody requested a light, the money would be there to extend the district. But I'm not going to, I hesitate to give any particulars,
Sure.
only because what you say can come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Well, and really, that's the result of doing nothing.
Right.
Right.
We're doing something.
Yeah, well, just one more note on that, and then I'll get on to this. It just that it seems like maybe the rate should have been reduced some time ago, so that, just in our overall tax bill. Okay, so I've passed out this packet, and basically what I've done is look at a lot of local statistics to determine the health of the economy locally. We all know on a national level it's pretty bad. And I've dug into some numbers to try to see where we are locally. And I'd like you to please consider the state of our economy before you pass a budget, if you're thinking of one that will exceed the tax cap, or if you're thinking of adding $10 million to long-term debt with the water and sewer project. I was here for that presentation, and I'm thinking there must be a plan B and a plan C. There's got to be more than just a plan A for that water and sewer project. Let's see, Mr. Lemoyne had already indicated the town would need about a bonding of $400,000 for the consolidated lighting district. And just quick math, $10 million for water and sewer and $400,000 for lighting is an excessive and long-term commitment. And at this point, would more than double the town's outstanding debt. And I want us to think about if this is really, if our local economy is really strong enough to support adding that much to our long-term debt, as well as possibly exceeding the tax cap. And some economic indicators we're going to look at are the unemployment rate, the volume of property sales, meaning the turnover rate, how often they're sold, property values, property taxes, inflation, and population. So the chart on the first page, and I've listed the sources for all these documents and all this information, shows home sales in Clinton County from 2007 till now. Well, if you look at the very last bar for quarter 2 on 2012, that is the lowest quarter 2 we've had since 2007. It shows that there's been approximately 150 houses sold. That's the vertical blue line. About 150 houses sold in Clinton County in the second quarter in 2012. And if you move to the left and look at all of the quarter 2s prior to this, even in 2007, the volume was much higher in property sales. And then if you look at the little line at the top, the red line with the black dots, it shows the prices. The prices, the median price for house sales, which now is lower than it has been since 2007. Okay, so we're selling a lot less houses, and the median price for these houses have dropped, and that's in Clinton County. And then if you turn over, we got some data for the town of Plattsburgh specifically. And this is for this year, starting January 1. Everything highlighted in yellow sold below the assessed value. Okay, and the last date is September 4th. And so we've got the list price, the date it was sold, the selling price, the assessed value, the assessment date, and then the percent of assessed value for these homes. Okay, so that's actual real data in the town of Plattsburgh. And then if you turn the page one more time, you're looking at page 3 now. This shows properties in the town of Plattsburgh that are listed but have not yet sold, that are listed below their assessed value, right out of the starting gate. Okay, so it's not like they're going to negotiate down. They're already listed below their assessed value. And the information, the assessment, that was gathered from the real property office. So, as houses sell for a price below assessed value, they will subsequently be valued for assessment purposes at a lesser value. If it's a $100,000 house and it sells for $90,000, the new assessed value should be $90,000. And as that happens to more and more houses, you guys know, you got a house in Champlain Park and it goes for less, then it affects the value of other similar properties around it. So the town of Plattsburgh is considering doubling their debt and exceeding their tax cap. In the end, this would mean higher special district taxes, highway taxes, fire district and ambulance taxes, and of course bond repayment taxes. And we've seen this devaluing happen in several municipalities across the country that have declared bankruptcy. And I don't want us to go down that spot. I don't want us to ever even be close to it. But it's happening. And that's fact from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Syracuse, New York is in trouble. 3 municipalities in California, New Jersey. It's around the country. And to echo one of your points, I think, John, we can't ignore what's happening in the rest of the country as well as the rest of the world. And then I put together a little table just showing outstanding debt, which we derived from the comptroller's report from 2007 to 2011. And then the number for 2013 is projected, and that's based on if we included the $400,000 for the lighting district and the sewer project of $10 million. So again, our long-term debt, if those projects are undertaken, will more than double. The taxpayers are not able to adequately pay the taxes they currently owe. They surely will not be able to pay more, and asking them to do so is irresponsible. Properties lost to tax foreclosures have more than doubled since the recession began in 2008. Now this next chart shows property taxes in Clinton County versus other counties across the United States. And they both show the same information, but based on different variables. So if you look at the first column of data, it's gray on top and it's blue on the bottom, and we're on page 4. Okay? The first column of data shows the number of counties in the U.S. that have higher property taxes than Clinton County based on their median income. Okay? So in the gray, in the first column, are the number of properties, the number of counties, in the United States that have higher property taxes based upon the owner's median income. Not many. As a matter of fact, 590 counties have lower taxes, and whatever the math is, 216 have higher, based on median income. Now, if you look at assessed value, that's the second column, and the picture is a little bit worse for that. 90% of the counties across the country have lower taxes on their property based on the assessed values for their properties. Not market value, but tax assessed values. Okay? So what we're looking at is, when we look at median income as a value, or we look at...
Could I ask?
Sure.
When you talk about higher property taxes, what taxes are you including?
What is considered property taxes? Taxes that are levied based on your property value. And it's different in different places.
Well, I'd just like to know which taxes you're considering.
Land and school versus land only, is that your question?
Well, in some places they don't have school tax, they have land only. It's taxes that you
So
pay.
you're counting school and...
Pay based upon, yes, taxes that you pay based upon the value of your property. Some places only have land, some places have land and
So
school.
you're including every tax?
Sure.
Okay, very good.
So if you're given the two measures of median income and median home value or assessed value, and you're looking at the highest taxes paid, we're paying more than 90% of the country, why would people want to relocate here? And why would companies want to relocate here? You know, that's one of the things people look at. They look at taxes and they look at school districts. And again, the source, if you guys want to check that out, it's pretty informative. So properties have been lost to tax foreclosures or the inability for people to pay their taxes. That has doubled, more than doubled since 2008. And there's a little chart showing how many, but basically properties lost to tax foreclosures went from 27 in 2008 to 61 just this past August were auctioned off. Okay? So that in itself indicates that people are having trouble paying their taxes. In the Press Republican on September 8th, there were over 1,550 properties listed that were delinquent. They weren't all in Clinton County, most of them were. If they're not paid in 2 years, you guys know what happens, they go for tax foreclosure. So again, just looking at things that are going on in the economy around us. The U.S. economy experienced 3 years of growth since the 2007-2009 recession, but the expansion has been grudging, and the jobless rate has been above 8% nationally. 8% for 43 straight months, the longest stretch since the Great Depression. I mean, that's huge. The unemployment rate in Clinton County is 10.5%, which does not include underemployed or discouraged workers. Underemployed workers are people who are working below their capacity. Perhaps they have a 4-year degree or a master's degree and they're checking people out at Walmart. They're cashiers, okay? That's one example of an underemployed worker. Another is someone who wants to be working full-time but has a job at McDonald's and another at Walmart and another at Hannaford to make up a full-time work week. That's considered underemployed. Discouraged workers are people who have given up looking for jobs. And to be included in the unemployment rate, you have to be ready, willing, able, and actively searching and over 16 years old to be considered unemployed. Those people, as soon as they drop out of the labor force, they're no longer counted in the statistic. When you count those people in the statistic, Clinton County is sitting at about 19%. Let's see, and those sources are there too, if you want to look at that. Sales tax receipts in Clinton County. You guys know these numbers, I'm sure. From 2008 to 2009, 2010, we took a big hit. 2011, we started picking up and we're just above the 2008 figures. The town of Plattsburgh receives roughly $3 million and some change from Clinton County for sales tax receipts. The sales tax receipt in Clinton County have begun to rebound from the 2009, 10, 11. And last year, sales tax receipts were just over their 2008 level. How much of this rebound is real and how much is attributable to accelerating fuel prices and external factors? County Treasurer Joe Giroux indicated that the increase in sales tax revenues due mostly to tourism and rising fuel prices. So basically, your fuel prices go up, the tax on a higher price item is a higher tax, and there's not really anything real being generated. Yet the coffers for sales tax revenue go up because of inflation. Unfortunately, when people have to spend more of their income on fuel, they have less money for other items like college tuition or durable goods like appliances, etc. Increases in fuel prices and soon food prices because of the drought will continue to strip needed funds from household spending power. We need consumers to increase their spending on our local area businesses and consumer products if our economy is to grow. We need real growth and not growth based on inflation. So basically, a lot of people are forking over their money to pay the extra increase in fuel prices and thus the extra taxes on fuel, and they're not getting more for it. They're just keeping their car going and getting to work. They're not buying anything from local area businesses. They're not generating any economic growth. And then here's just a segment that shows revenues for the town of Plattsburgh from 2007 to 2010, just looking at the sales and use tax, which has been in about the $3 million range. According to the census data, the population in the town of Plattsburgh has increased by only 587 people from 2000 to 2010. How is the local economy going to grow when the following conditions exist? We have a population growth that is nearly flat, 10.5% unemployment rate. The number of properties subjected to tax foreclosures have doubled. We pay a higher tax rate per assessed valuation than 90% of the rest of the country. What effect does this have on our schools and future taxpayers? Student enrollment in Clinton County area public schools is declining rapidly. In 6 years, the population in Clinton County Public Schools has declined by 12.3%. From 2004-05 to 2010-11, check out the various schools. This is taken from report card data from New York State Education Department. Okay, and that is just 6 years, and 2010-11 is the most recent report card data we have. 1,587 students less in 2010-11 than in 4-5, which is a 12.3% decrease. And in town of Plattsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, it's Beekmantown, Saranac, and Peru. Are those the three? Okay. And just take a look, 229. Beekmantown has lost 1.25 graduating classes. Peru has lost a whole graduating class, and Saranac has lost almost 3. So these are people who are, they're never even going to be taxpayers because they're not going to graduate. It's not like they're going to graduate and move away. They're not even going to graduate from here. They don't exist in our school system. So these students are the future taxpayers, and their absence will be noticed as our population attempts to pay down future long-term debt and current expenses with a decreasing population base. Their absence will create a larger tax burden and per-person debt responsibility for those who remain in the town. This decreased trend in enrollment is expected to continue. So I've listed the four reasons. Not to take on more debt and expenses because of stagnant and declining real estate values that adversely affects property values and owners' wealth. High unemployment, adversely affecting local spending, ability to pay taxes, ability to pay bills, and ultimately adversely affecting owners' wealth. Rapidly decreasing enrollment in our schools, which adversely affects our ability to meet future debt obligations and local spending. If they're not here, they're not spending. And accelerating property tax foreclosures. This is a big one. It's a sign that we as a community are at a breaking point. Look at the amount of tax foreclosures. And the trend has not been good. If there's any questions I can answer about any of this data, I've tried to document it all so people can go back and check to see. I think we need to, before we spend a lot more money and get ourselves into a committed situation with debt, I think we need to think long and hard about our situation here in the town of Plattsburgh, in Clinton County, and what's coming down the pike around us. We've never lived in these economic times before. And it's certainly anybody's guess what's going to happen. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have anything different? We had a lot of yielding, so I'm going to take advantage of it. 5 minutes.
Yes,
4.
sir, you're on the mark. Okay, thank you. I just want to reiterate some of the things that Mrs. Sims said and Holly said. And I think that hopefully this is not news, brand news to you, that you're aware of these situations. I mean, the economy in this country and in the state, in this county, there are counties now asking for fiscal review boards to keep them on an even keel. We are going down the tube. What I would like to see is a moratorium on your budget for 2013, to take the 2012 numbers, to freeze them, and then look at 2012 budget you have, and start doing a management assessment. One of my background employments were working for the State of New York Health Department for the Office of Health Systems Management. 1979, we did about 300 nursing homes and 1099 strikes in New York, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, Medicaid was cut, revenues were cut to hospitals and institutions across the state, and they didn't know how to live within those budgets. State Health Department created a team. I was part of that. We showed them how to do it. They didn't like it, but we did it. And they're still existing today, and they're alive, and they're functioning well within those constraints. What I'm asking for is a moratorium, no growth on any of your departments, any of your new projections for municipal lighting. You take 2012 budget in your departments, and you start assessing where the fat is. I've looked at some of the other budgets in other towns in the state of New York to do a comparison in terms of population. Potentially, I think that per capita right now, based on the numbers I got for 2012, we're running about $1,200 per individual in the town on the expenditure side, $1,200 per capita. The next closest town that I could find that would be somewhat parallel to a mirror of Plattsburgh, dynamic population, etc., was Canandaigua. Canandaigua is in central New York, very pretty area, beautiful little town. They are running about $900 per capita. In other words, $300 less per person than what we're expending here in the town of Plattsburgh. It seems as if you individuals fiscally are being irresponsible, at least in my book. I don't know how everybody else feels from cover to head. There may be some other people that disagree with me, but I think that it's time for a moratorium. You heard what Mrs. Sims said. Things are not good. Your housing appraisals are down, your market values are down, unemployment is high, and you want to create a new department to save money, but you're going to spend money to save money. I say moratorium, no new spending, 2013, freeze everything, go back to what you have and start cutting the fat out of those departments. In administration, you're running about $500,000. There's an adjacent city right next door to you that has a $30 million budget, and they spend approximately $350,000, approximately, for administration. That's 3 times the size of your budget, and you're spending the equal amount of money for administration. The town supervisor job description is fiscal officer. You're fiscally responsible. You want to hire a comptroller. I don't understand why. I mean, a lot of those positions should be doing what needs to be done. Why do you need so many bodies in administration? It's time to cut. Create a freeze, a moratorium, go into 2013 fiscal year with the same amount of dollars you got now, cut back some of those dollars so you have a leaner, meaner, more efficient government than you're running right now. Because right now, you're obese. You're running on the fat side. You need to trim some of your expenses so you can keep those tax rates down. People do not have the money they had at one point. 2008 was a dilemma, disaster for everybody. Everybody. I've got a little 78-year-old lady living next to me. Built her own house 30, 40 years ago. She's now dependent on Social Security, which is what, $1,400 a month? She had money in the stock market, it's gone. So she's really, really suffering. I mean, this is a lady who has to go to the eye doctor because she's blind in one eye. She's afraid to spend the $10 to get a taxi because she's not sure. People are cutting back expenses on food, cutting back expenses on prescriptions in order to meet some other demanding need. And the demand you're going to put on them is more tax. It doesn't make sense. It's fiscally irresponsible. I call for a moratorium in 2013. Cut what you got and let's go forward because we're wasting money.
Okay.
Our money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's time to move the agenda.
Could I just ask one very quick question? Obviously, I'm kind of Johnny come lately here. When I first came to Plattsburgh, I was the budget control officer at the college for about 6 years. And we, as you probably remember, have gone through a series of budget reductions, crises, and so forth.
Excuse me, can I ask you to use the microphone, because if we have to go through any of this, we won't be able to get it. Thank you very much.
Is there a written policy on what your budgetary procedure is? We
Yeah,
used to put out, you know, asking various scenarios, what would you have to do if we cut
One of the
5%?
comments made early was implying that numbers in Mr. Lemoy's presentation could easily be skewed and would need to be authenticated, you know, to the point of where maybe they're self-serving. We've had a lot of views and opinions expressed. There's some good documentation, and I think anybody that, you know, listens to the news has got a sense, at least globally, what's going on, let alone nationally and locally. There's been some real contamination of numbers relative to town tax and cost of town government when we lump taxes and consider the county tax, the school tax, and so on. We do. We have, you know, internal audits, external, the comptroller's office. There are parameters, for example, when we talk about we've got all this money in lighting, let's pay down, you know, some debt, or let's use that for the water infrastructure. There are things we can't do.
That goes way beyond my question. It's basically, it's just, is there a written policy for a budgetary procedure that you give to all the department heads?
Yes.
And is it available for anybody to look at?
Anything that we have is available, absolutely. Policy, and I said yes quickly, I'm thinking more of procedures and practice. Department heads are given their budgets. They're asked to provide feedback as to needs and wants. Very quickly that's reviewed. We'll sit down and meet with the department heads as they will express their concerns for the departments. Tough ones get to be, for example, in the highway department, the cost of asphalt, the cost of salt, the cost of fuel, which we've all seen. Fuel has gone crazy the last couple of weeks. We're like any other family. Our cost for fuel has gone up. We can't plow the roads less. We can't take a snowplow off the road because we have a public obligation for safety to you know, the residents of the community, the school buses that drive those roads. So it gets very difficult, as well as, and I heard more than once tonight, some sort of implication that the board was going to be going beyond a tax cap. I know that was discussed as a means to resolve future infrastructure needs, but that decision has not been made. And that's the other constraint. We've got a 2% cap, but it's not on tax, it's on levy, which really is a huge double-edged sword. So,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
the short answer is yes, the long answer is what is it?
I'd just be interested in seeing what your procedure is.
Come see me sometime, I'd be more than
So
glad
forth.
to take time.
One thing that was prevalent at the college was the old, if you don't use it, you lose it. And you get down to the fourth quarter, and people are blowing money left and right, and those expenses have to be reviewed when you're putting together a new budget, because, and frankly, administration, we would see somebody that couldn't, some department that could not possibly spend their money and just couldn't encumber it in time, and we would take it and use it where we had deficits.
Mhm.
So, but it still is a use it or lose it mentality, which is not good.
I'd like to say we don't have that mentality, and you can't use it without a string of approvals that goes with it. And,
Yeah, I'm not accusing it, I'm just saying
What
that's typical
it's happening.
in governmental, tax-based.
Yeah, but we're a pretty small government. You know, it's a lot harder to hide a practice and a purchase here than in many other institutions.
It's more likely to be on the state level, places I've worked anyway, that's what they do. And they've had the budgets and they do it. We haven't been doing that.
Yeah, there's no closet filled with reams and reams of ditto paper.
I would like to make one comment though, as far as surpluses and as far as tax rates, et cetera. If you don't have that emergency money, if you don't have that for a crisis, then you're really in trouble. And I have always advocated having enough money for a crisis. And if we hadn't saved that money, we would have had a crisis with the storm and things like that. So yes, we're trying to be careful with the money. I believe we've instituted a number of other things already that have saved money over the long run. It's not something that's easy to pull out of the air. These things take quite a bit of time. We've gone through a number of audits because previously in the previous administration, it was such a mess that it took a long time to get those audits straight. So while it may seem like we're not, going fast enough, we have come up with ideas. This idea that Paul had, I believe, is another one of those ideas. It isn't to increase your debt, it's to decrease the debt over a longer term. So, those are the types of things we're doing. Now, pie in the sky, what they do on the national level and state level is not what we do here.
Okay. Bernie, why can't other people talk? You let other people talk?
You let Holly Sims talk for a half hour by
Right.
yielding some time.
How
Everybody
can
raised
you
their hand.
prohibit anybody from speaking?
So, yeah. I mean, if we're just gonna keep grinding at the same thing, John,
Well-
we're gonna go all night.
Maybe you need feedback. We're paying the bills.
Oh, we all are, including the
May I
5 people up
speak?
front.
May I speak?
Counselors?
Yes.
Sure.
In terms of watching for the money
Could
bills,
you just please restate your name? I know.
David Hinsman. Why does it take 2 people in a pickup truck to read the water meter? One sits in the truck and one gets out. I don't begrudge anybody having a job, but to me it looks like a little bit of overkill. And I remember when you drafted no, you didn't draft the consolidated lighting district, I think. It was a $350 attorney from Albany. We have a perfectly capable attorney on this board here. I don't understand why we have to run up those kinds of legal fees. Could somebody explain that?
I can't explain the 2 men. I made a note. I'll certainly want to know myself. I recently saw the meter reader in my community, and he was doing radio reads. He parked the car as we drive into the area, and he was walking around. I know that because somebody called the state police, thought there was maybe a person who shouldn't be walking around so close to their homes. He was alone. I can't answer that question. The second question about an attorney, no offense to the expert advice that we've been able to retain, but it's a lot like saying, why didn't you go to the GP to set the broken shoulder? They're specialists. One of the things we've learned is, depending on the situation, you're going to get what you pay for, and you sometimes need expert advice versus later being bogged down with money thrown away on more attorneys, more lawsuits that you may win or lose. Believe me, it kills me. If you've been around, especially in work sessions where we're a little more, a little less formal, I'll say. Anytime we have to spend a nickel on legal fees, my toes cringe, believe me. And we've spent an awful lot, you know it, we spent an awful lot less than we had in the past. We had a budgeted amount. We let a retained attorney go because we felt we could deal with what he was better locally. But son of a gun, if somebody has a heart attack in the city of Plattsburgh, we get sued. And I mean, there is money that I don't feel we get the best use out of it, but we have to spend because we're the big bad guy to some people. We're government, we have deep pockets, and we're gonna pay. It's very frustrating, believe me. But you don't lose too many of those. We're in a situation, and we've been there before with some of these multi-million-dollar corporations that they just have retained attorneys, their job's to go out and get money back for their company. They're huge. They know their job well. We take them on with local expertise. It's going to cost us. Very frustrating to lose that money. Very frustrating. But people, and some good people in the community, they feel, they get something from us. They got a good deal, but they don't realize when they get something from us, they take something from everybody. It's frustrating, and I can feel myself getting wound up even thinking about it. But you're right, and that's why, unfortunately. And I don't know if a counselor would like to, feels he could do those.
I think, I agree on that. There are some situations. One thing I would add that we talked about tonight is that we talked about this property tax, which pointed out is so very high. New York State has the highest property tax in the United States. And it's not by accident, it's a policy. I've written a number of articles that have been published on this subject, and it's a policy that they have in our state legislature, the governor's office, not to tax on income, but rather to tax on the local level on property taxes. Because it makes an awful lot of political sense on, say, if you have a state representative, and if you ask them, they say, well, I'm not doing anything at all on the, say, in terms of income tax. I'm keeping the income tax nice and low, but then they will have an unfunded mandate, which is a win-win situation. They'll say, we want you to do this, that, and the other thing, and with property tax, you have no option. They just say you have to do this. So we have the highest property. It's a decision that's made, a very calculated decision to have the tax placed on property. Like I said, I've written a number of articles on it, and it is horribly unfair, and I agree with Jack mentioned he has a neighbor that's on Social Security, and my view is that if somebody, say, sells their Google stock and they make $100,000, that's where the tax should be paid, as opposed to squeezing it out of people on property taxes and almost discouraging them from improving their property. And not only that, it's a very wasteful process. People, as you pointed out, all the foreclosure, it's a cost of advertising the Plattsburgh Press Republican is brutal. The process is brutal. Say for example, if you get a raise in pay and your taxes go up, do you challenge the Internal Revenue Service? Of course you don't. We pay, when we have, say like Pyramid Mall and others, and they beat every little town on these types of things, and they fight you, all the major companies fight you. And it's it's a terrible waste, and it's a very inefficient system. You're taxing people who don't have the money as opposed to people who are making the money. What you're doing is going after many times retired people, people on fixed income, and that's what it's happening. So, but it's not a mistake. In New York State, the reason we're leading the way is it's a design policy. I think it's a horrible policy, but it's a design policy. It's not an accident. It's not because municipal governments in New York State are terrible. We have, in terms of, we're #1 in property tax, we're right absolutely dead in the middle on income tax. So we have just chosen to get the money out of taxpayers and homeowners as opposed to getting it out of people who are actually making the money.
And I believe that's one of the reasons why you see the statistics that you have here, Ollie, in terms of why is it that the property tax is higher here. It's because they don't use income taxes. I'm old enough to remember when the state actually funded education, and actually, and the federal government actually funded education. We did this. It wasn't on property tax all the time. It was money that came from the governments, and that was earned by property, by income tax, not property tax. Much is, in my opinion, a much fairer way.
The other thing I would point out, anytime a politician says, I'm gonna cut your income tax, they're also saying, I'm gonna raise your property taxes. You're squeezing the balloon, and they'll never say that, that's all I would say. And they always ask you, and you say, well, gee, you know, well, then you should talk to your supervisor, or talk to your school board.
And they'll get reelected, and
Yeah,
the school
no,
board is
that
volunteers.
is a game that's played, and that's what we, but the thing of it is, they're not doing it in other states, we do it in New York, that's where we're doing it. And they'll tell you, you know, any politician runs, I cut the income tax, oh, this is really, yeah, the property tax, oh, I don't know. You have to talk to the supervisor on that one, I'm not sure how that works. That's what you get.
Good.
Is there anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak? Can we spread it around just a little bit, as long as we're going at it, let's do it. The same thing, John, for the tape, for the audio tape.
Oh, John, St. Germain, Peterborough, New York. What I would say is, I got an article in the newspaper here, this is 2007. And in here, elected officials' base salaries. The supervisor in the town of Plattsburgh then was $63,758. The closest supervisor pay was Peru, and that's at $21,000. So we pay 3 times as much for the supervising position.
He's worth 4 times as much, John.
What's that?
He's worth 4 times as much. You're getting a deal.
I don't think so.
What, you're in top of your...
That's your opinion. That a council member in the town of Plattsburgh is $12,354. The rest of them are all right around $5,000. So you get twice as much to be a councilman in the town of Plattsburgh. I don't know why this is.
As did John when he was a councilman.
Huh?
As did you when you were a councilman.
Yes, and I...
You didn't give it back to the general fund.
Well, I tried, I voted...
You tried, okay.
I voted 7 out of 8 times not
Yep,
to
yep.
pass the budget.
That works.
Another
It's gonna
thing,
pass.
if you wanna save money, you got these nice little newsletters you put out, color, glossy paper, and what have you. Total cost of them was only $20,000. $20,000. That, in good times, I could live with that. But in the times we're in now, you know, not with people struggling as they are. There's many, many ways here that you could save money in the budget. And one of the things that I don't understand, like Mr. Lemoyne's wearing the shirt tonight, and you buy them through the town of Plattsburgh at a 30% discount. Now, to me, I believe we passed a resolution a long time ago, Gerard, that you couldn't purchase jackets and shirts and what have you through the town of Plattsburgh. And I would think that the legality of that alone, I mean, where do you draw the line if you're doing it with shirts and getting a 30% discount? Can you do it, start using state contract gasoline out of the pumps? Can you start buying automobiles and trucks that way? I think it needs to be looked into, and I know you're the ethics man, Gerard. You probably should take a look at that. Thank you.
I want to make one comment, because yes, there was a resolution passed about purchasing through the town, and it was to purchase for our own use. Our employees and us could purchase for our own use. We could not purchase to outfit a ball team. We could not purchase to outfit our family. So you're right, there was a policy that was passed, and it was passed for personal use. Now, we have purchased these shirts out of our own pocket. The town did not purchase them. Did we get a discount? We got only the discount that anybody else from the town would have gotten. We weren't given a special discount. We were given the discount, the price, excuse me, the price that supplier would charge us all.
I didn't know we got a discount.
If you're an employee for the town, or you want it, you sure can.
Okay, anyone else, and you know, we kind of guide it because there's a lot of information we don't have. We don't have departments sitting right here to verify. I mean, it's a very complex organism. And we're very careful not to misguide you. And, you know, I've often told people, you know, if I give you a different fact next week, the only difference is because I learned something new in between. And it's very difficult for us now to have the advantage to, you know, pull a file and whatnot. But I'll tell you, I feel very good about trying to make the right decisions. There won't always be the decision you will make. We all value different things, like I said, to lease, to buy, to rent, to own, to improve, or to wait for it to break down. Those are tough. To go to college, not to go to college, to take a work career. They're all decisions. And I think many times one theme I heard is, are the decisions based on something? Yeah, they are. We take it very serious. The 5 of us live in this town, pay the same dues, and someday we'll be facing the same, you know, senior retired dilemma. And we're not going to create a path, if we're selfish at all, we're not going to create a path that we can't take care of either. But we have a liability to make sure the infrastructure works, the town is safe, the water runs. We don't think it would pay to wait for things to fail. We have to take care of our employees. We are lean and mean. We are not the town of Peru. And if you want to really look at things, look at the comptroller's report that came out recently. I think they're doing real well with the resources they have, but it's difficult to run with limited. And all the other towns are very limited with the staff they have. Maybe that's why this is a Class A town and why we have a little better lot. I really do want to move it along. It's kind of getting, you know, preachery now, and I don't want to be that either. So I think we'll go to Resolution 260, Abstract 90.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 9BA-12, 1966 to 2081 for $352,652.85. And abstract 9B-12, 388 to 402 prepays in the amount of $215,949.80. Be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Rendat, second.
Second.
Mr. Lamone, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 261, Codes and Zoning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? I point out, and it's probably generic tonight as much as anything, in the code officer's report, there were 41 building permits requested, 36 the previous month, so there's some things going on. Obviously, I look at residential and I see one new home. So, you know, those are decks and so on and so forth, but hopefully we'll continue to see increased activity, and there are good signs of development. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 262, Highway Superintendent's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from James Wood, Highway Superintendent for the month of July and August 2012.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoyne, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 263, Historian's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a historian's report for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
That department's getting bigger and bigger, but at no cost to the taxpayer.
Um,
We have volunteers coming in there.
Yeah, it can be misleading. We talk about a deputy and then a second deputy, but these are 100% volunteers. In fact, our historian, for the amount of time he does and the weekends and evening he's been putting in lately to promote local history and represent the town's pretty good too. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 264, Parks and Recreation Department's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Melanie Defiant, Recreation and Youth Service Director for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion.
So,
Mr. Woods, second. Mr. Mannix, any discussion? And I guess in this, as we talk about real austerity and whatnot, the programs that our rec department does are, I think, second to absolutely no municipality. We look at the involvement of families today, these young people. These are the kinds of things that with a declining youth population, we hope encourages young families to come to the area, others to stay here, because we do an awful lot of things with seniors as well that will help us stay ahead of that curve a little bit. It's time and money well invested. Anyone see anything else? Have any concerns, comments? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 265, Supervisor's monthly financial report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a supervisor's financial report for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion.
So move.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoy, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 266, Town Clerk's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Rick Collins, Town Clerk, for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Rick, anything you'd like to point out to us this month?
No, as you can see that the dog stuff, I don't know if Debbie gave you that or not, but that's on an increase, too, or you didn't get it.
No.
Okay.
I'd just like to point out in support of what you're pointing out, Rick. That's an example of a state program, and the state turned the program back to the town. And the town has turned the program and turned it to where literally it's an income producer. And we have, how many times more dogs registered now than were registered when the state was doing it?
About 15 to 1,800 dogs right now, more than what we had when the state was doing it. Only because we're on top of the thing, where we had neighbors come forward now and saying, well, if I have to register my 3 dogs, how come this one over here doesn't? So it's been a dominoes effect, and there's more and more people coming forward now that have had dogs 4 or 5 years, because David's been around the neighborhoods and stuff, that people are coming forward and registering that never did before. So I mean, it's been the numeration system of the thing has cleaned it up, and it's more beneficial to everybody now. So at least the rabies certificate was one of the hardest things to keep track of, that the state wasn't doing it, but we are.
Yeah, that would be Dave, you got the dog control officer, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 267, Water Wastewater Department's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Scott Stoddard, Water and Wastewater Director, for the month of August 2012.
Have a motion.
So move.
Mr. Lemoy, second. Mr. Renadette? The sound waves got to me faster, I guess. Any discussion? Anything anyone wants to point out? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 268, authorization to make application to the Justice Court Assistance Program, JCAP.
Whereas discussions with the town of Plattsburgh justices and court clerk identified certain equipment needs for the town court. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to apply for funds from the Justice Court Assistance Program, requesting funds to purchase filing cabinets with locks, a shredder, shelving, and it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and to the bookkeeper.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
And Mr. Lemoyne, any discussion? Since this resolution was crafted, one of the things we learned is with the upgrades with the phone system, the new, I'll call it software, I think it's software, has surfaced a problem with the older phones. We were talking about new software this morning, some length, Mr. Mannix. And in the court, as you're probably aware, they don't take messages. And what we have done is been able to go to the phone, use the call history to find out who had called, and then do the return calls. With the new voiceover system, the old phones down there no longer are able to show the history. Nobody really knows why. It's one of the quirks and the upgrades. What I'd like to do, I would ask, is that we amend this resolution to add the purchase of, I'll say phones. We may need one. I believe we put one in one of the PAMs. I'd like to see another one in one of the other PAMs. We don't need to go through all 4 clerks. But if each of the justice clerks had the new phone, then they would have a call history, which I think is pretty important. So is there, Tom, you did the motion, Paul, you did the second. Is there any concern with amending to include the purchase of phones?
So
just need phones, it's just hardware.
Operate with this
Correct.
particular system?
Yep, the new phones.
And,
Voiceover.
and I have, people say that they've left me messages or can't leave messages on my phone, but
Mhm.
everybody else has. I don't know why the town system isn't able to do that, but, there is something that needs to be said.
They're still working to get the recorder working. We have a number of people who have that problem. Some of the phones are working, some of the phones aren't. Okay?
No, but in the court system, they don't accept messages.
I understand
Right.
that.
But Mr. Wood was wondering why we can't accept messages. They don't accept messages because sometimes they become garbled, they can't understand them, and they make sure they talk to a human person. If you're looking to adjourn a court date, they don't want to rely on a message, so you have to actually get through to somebody.
Yeah, that's by design in the court.
Exactly.
I was trying to answer Tom's comment.
It's a different, yeah. I know we have Wayne Trombley coming tomorrow. Yes, he's coming tomorrow, so maybe we can ask him if he can do anything about the other situation.
Mine work still doesn't.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Doesn't make sense.
So we're gonna have to.
So this particular system is going to be, is being worked on, this software system, to make sure that it works.
Yeah, there's been an install, but the install is what surfaced some bugs, and now they come in and debug it.
Okay.
Am I
Well, in that
guaranteeing
case,
it's gonna be perfect?
I just don't want to purchase phones if the system isn't going to work.
Well, the system is in and it works. There are some, actually I didn't know in-house we had any of those issues because we did put new phones on. But we got a mix of analog and digital phones, and that may be no small part of the problem. And we didn't upgrade everything, we just took a baby step. But that's kind of irrelevant to trying to get this grant to purchase one of the phones.
So all
we
you
need.
want to do is add that to the file cabinets, lock.
Just want to add a telephone. We may end up having to take the file cabinet out.
Okay.
But we'll decide once the grant is actually structured. I just want to add a phone to the grant.
Okay.
Okay? All right, and Paul, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Paul Moy,
Yes.
Brian Brennan,
Yes.
Bernie Bowser.
Yes, resolution carries as amended. Resolution 269, authorization to enter into an agreement with Bailey Property Enterprises, Inc.
Whereas the town board has a responsibility to intervene when property in the town of Plattsburgh becomes abandoned or unsafe or unsanitary conditions on the property. Whereas the code enforcement officer periodically requested the town board take action under local law number 1 of 1983 entitled Unsafe Building Law regarding unsafe buildings that may require an intervention to abate the unsafe condition as required by the aforementioned local law. And whereas after advertising in a local newspaper for bids for property maintenance contractor, Mr. Einhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, has requested that the town retain the service of Bailey Property Enterprises Incorporated to provide said service. Therefore, it be resolved to expedite the purpose to identify qualified providers and enable the Code Enforcement Officer to make swift action on neglected property requiring maintenance, with the cost therefore to be levied upon the taxes of the neglected property in accordance with local law number 1 of the year 1983, and to be reviewed by the approval of the town attorney. The supervisor is hereby authorized to enter into the attached agreement with Bailey Property Enterprises Incorporated of 494 Port Douglas Road, P.O. Box 304, Keysville, New York 12924. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and to the code enforcement department.
Have a motion.
So,
Mr. Renada, second Mr. Mannix. Any discussion?
We all got council's response to our questions from the work session, I believe, and so I'm comfortable with moving this forward.
Yeah, I don't have that final one, so
I
I can, the official final that everybody, if you've got a spare of that, I'll put it with the resolution. I'm just not, I don't know what this is. No, this is the original.
I have it, I brought it, so I'll find it.
Yeah, we'll want that electronic also. We'll want that electronic also, so we
It is.
can
Been sent to everybody.
slug it. All right, then I probably have it on me this time.
Jim, one question for you. When you said that they don't have to pay the prevailing wage rate if they're fixing a zoning ordinance, fixing these buildings that fall under local law number 1 aren't fixing zoning issues, I don't believe.
Well, I explained it a pretty good length. Some of the Department of Labor went through told exactly what it was. And he said that was the issue. He also said if the contract doesn't exceed $1,500, you don't have to pay. Right. And I don't think any of these contracts do. So I think there's 2 reasons why you don't have to do it.
We want to probably keep that figure in mind of the 1,500 though.
I think we're safe on it anyway. But I told him exactly what it was. I said it's to mow lawns and all that. So the other thing too, I talked to the Association of Towns, and it isn't. I mean, I understand prevailing wage. I think when I explained the situation, that Murray Jorrell said that it was, at least it was my impression, that it didn't come up too often. But it was a good point to bring up, and just doesn't apply in this particular instance.
So these would be just for individual situations, and we'll not be paying them regularly?
No, if they go up, Steve will say, we want A, B, and C done. They'll say, well, A, B, and C will say be, I don't know, $400, and they go to $400.
My question would be, I know he solicited proposals. How would he get a bid on something when they don't really understand the scope of the work that they need to do?
I had some conversation with him today. We have 3 that are, we expect are going to exceed $500, and he has drafted what the needs are, the location of the properties, and is sending those out to, I got the word rehabilitation, to property maintenance companies, asking them to do a site visit and prepare them.
No, you're missing my point. This company gave him a proposal to work by the hour or by the job, or whatever. I mean, how does he compare that their rate was lower than another lawn maintenance company? What did he base it on? I mean, it wasn't per hour, because the hourly thing was never filled in. So I don't know how he based that this company was a low company.
I don't know.
I can make that really, after the ad went in the paper, they were the only one who responded to the bid. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
yes.
Mark Mannix?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
No.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes. Resolution carries. Resolution 270, authorization to create and fill the position of finance manager.
Whereas accounting and fiscal management for the town of Plattsburgh are complex procedures that require expertise with processing mandated reports, audits, investment, receipt and processing from various funds and collectibles, overseeing and monitoring departmental budgets, managing the issuance of debt, producing documents, reporting to various agencies, managing computerized accounting and billing systems, compliance mandates, as well as many other related responsibilities for the municipality. Whereas current levels of growth and accountability have created demands that would be better achieved by retaining expertise in the area of general accounting, governmental accounting, auditing procedures, budgeting, appropriation practice, banking, investments, and borrowing, computerized accounting and billing systems, data processing that municipalities are required to perform when managing the responsibilities of a multi-million-dollar budget. Whereas the job description has been submitted to the Clinton County Department of Personnel, and after review of the submitted new position duty statements, the Personnel Department has classified the duties as that of finance manager, competitive class, with a minimum qualification inclusion of graduation from an accredited or New York State registered college or university, with a bachelor's degree in accounting, business administration, finance, or economics. Now therefore be resolved that the town board appropriate the job specifications as indicated the creation of a position of finance manager. And it be further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documentation for the creation of said position and to pursue the canvassing of qualified applicants to fill the newly position with a starting salary range from $60,000 to $70,000. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and to the Clinton County Personnel Director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renedick, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood?
Yep.
Any discussion?
Just in light of some of the discussion that was held tonight, I think it's important that we point out that this position, I believe, is necessary in that the independent audits that we've had to do over the years have cost the town of Plattsburgh in excess of $12,000, I would say, each year for the additional information that needs to be picked up by our independent auditors. That's over and above what we had budgeted those years to get it done. Contrary to what Mr. Wood said, to take a little offense to blaming it on any administration, the same people are here that were here previous administrations, and the information is still not coming back adequately for our independent auditors to get the job done and get it done expeditiously so that they don't end up charging us tens of thousands of dollars more. Somebody with a finance background, somebody with CPA background and training would help us to avoid those additional costs year after year after year. This isn't a one-time thing. This has been going on, I would dare say, for the last 6 or 8 years. Additional costs that we've been spending. Now, yes, it's a lot of money, but we spend money on a budget officer. The budget officer, the job in my opinion, has outgrown the officer. She's well-versed in what she did for the town for many, many years. I think that this job has outgrown her. The amount of accounting that needs to be done on an annual basis, has gotten more and more complex. And it's at a point where now, unless we want to face fines from the comptroller's office, or we want to take the chance of having money disappear and not know about it, we need to have somebody who's well-versed in CPA matters. So that's why I'm supporting this.
Yeah,
I would like to just make one comment. The financial audits were out of balance and did not work. This board has brought them up to date and has corrected those mistakes. So,
we were 3 years behind,
some
7 years.
behind or not, that's what we brought up to date and we got them.
3 years behind, but there were no improprieties in practice. There were no improprieties in practice. So to say that it was the administration's fault for the audits being askew it's out of line. What we did do was probably not get them done on a timely basis, and this board has done that, and we're to be applauded for it. but I will not sit back and see aspersions cast on previous boards.
Well, I would just say that the person that was in charge of administration wasn't doing his job.
Okay, two other comments are really important. One of the things is we look at the comptroller's reports for many municipalities. One of the problems is in fiscal management, and it isn't usually that it comes up that there's a problem with monies missing. It's the legal movement of funds and illegal use many times of funds and departments. It's that sense of I got a little surplus here, we paid a bill over there. You can't always do that. Government auditing is very different. We could get the best expert to come to us from the private sector, and there's a lot they have to learn because government is different. It's very different. The other thing is our current budget officer has been in the position a number of years. She's just a wealth of information. She has done a great job. When she began, she didn't know she was going to be fiscally managing the budget for a multi-million-dollar operation with, as we all talk, government regs that keep changing. They come on top of themselves sometimes. She's facing retirement. She's been talking about that for a couple of years. I would go back to this board with an assumption that couple of years is going to be a couple of years. And once we're able to, if you will, download her knowledge and procedures and practices, and while she's here to do some things, enable a new person to look at something we don't look at all. How about investment of this money? How about banking practices? We just don't have the resources to do that and do that with any degree of expertise. But at the point that she would choose to then retire, we'll have a big decision to replace her or not, or to replace her position with a clerical position. She's well aware, as are all the department heads, that if this position is created, and we're going to assume we get the right person with the right skills and knowledge, that person is going to run the show as far as the budget office. No other responsibilities, but we'll be working much more closely with our water sewer department. They have another huge, extremely complex budget. We've spent, I wish I would have kept a meter running. There are a number of us, I pulled Marty into a meeting today, who have spent untold hours trying to sort out software and reports and untangle, unravel, and the meter's running. I think we can achieve a lot. I think those dollars from a more efficient external audit will come back to us. Other things that we don't even realize that will reduce the cost of this. We've had this in the budget for a couple of years in anticipation. Didn't want to pull the trigger because of the economy. We haven't had to go back and use that. I think the projections for the future will support it. I think the needs internally will justify it, and I think we'll see the advantage in monies saved and monies earned.
Bernie, I just want to add, I see the value of the overlap, and I understand that, the new person's going to have to absorb a lot of things that Diane does. I just got to tell you that I'm not comfortable with the salary range. If we wind up with the best qualified person being somebody right out of Plattsburgh State University, I don't know that they merit a $60,000 salary with no job experience, and that might be very well the best qualified person to come along. I just don't think we should set the salary limit before we actually figure out who we're going to hire.
I would make one comment to you. I will not be voting to approve the hiring of any new graduate from Plattsburgh State because they will not have any municipal government experience. And you've got to have municipal government experience. Even a person coming in, and we can recognize they're going to have, Diane at their elbow, and they're going to be, we want them to be a sponge and soak up as much of that as they can. We've got to have somebody that understands that process. There's a couple of issues. Bernie talked about the extent of regulations and mandated reports that come down. Those are unfunded mandates get driven down our throats, and we have to be able to expeditiously be able to pull that information together. And that's gonna take an example, somebody who, fully understands what we should be able to get from our computer systems, what kind of software is gonna be the best software for us. And that's the kind of person that we have to be looking for to hire for this position.
I totally agree. This is unfortunately, and certainly anybody and everybody can apply, there is a four-year college degree requirement. But the fiscal piece, as I've looked at this, if you don't have government experience, I'd rather just stay the way we are. It makes no sense. We're not going forward. We do have, I don't know if it's required or suggested that we do have a salary range in putting this out. And we did do some research to find what were people in similar positions earning that had experience. And actually raised it a little from the first draft because it wasn't quite up there. You don't want to discourage anyone who currently has a work history with municipalities, with government, that would have to leave a secure position to take this one on. So we're tickling that. But there's no reason to say, we might find the best candidate, someone who had 2 years of experience in this board would, we look at where they're coming from, what their current salary is, and the board would decide, they should start at 50.
Yeah, we're not compelled, there's no compelled.
There's just a range, yeah. And I think your point is, again, I'm not voting for that person fresh out either. 21 years old, just out of college with a PhD, I don't want them. They can't do any better than we're doing.
If they're 21 and they got a PhD.
You might want that.
Yeah, maybe we do want them.
Yeah, we do want that person.
Doogie Howser?
He can replace everybody, guys.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Paul LeMoyne.
Yes.
Ron Renada.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. I will keep you tuned in. The next thing I need to do is communicate for the creation of the position with Alan Gibson. And then we'll want to set something up to do a advertising canvassing. I think we're really foolish if we don't get this person in or try to find the right person to work with us through this budget year. And then away we go. We've done a lot of cross-training. Diane has done a lot of cross-training, not always to the pleasure of the girls in the office. They have learned some other tasks, so when someone's out, someone else can pick it up.
Talking about the women in the office?
The women in the office. Not to say this person will be a woman, whoever it is, he or she. But we've got some work to do in there to be more accountable. And if we don't find the right person, again, as I sit here, it's in the record. I won't vote for someone just to fill it either. I'm not going to settle with the best we had. It ain't going to happen.
I regularly review the controller's comments on audits that have been performed for towns and villages because it tells us what it is that they're looking for, what it is they consider to be the problems. They've gotten much tougher on what they're demanding from these municipalities. And I don't know how small towns are gonna do it. I mean, we have towns in Clinton County with supervisors who work 18 hours a week on it. I don't think you can open the mail in 18 hours a week. But the same thing goes on. You have good people, the salt of the earth kind of people that end up being a budget officer, but they're not. They don't have an accounting background. And these people are being castigated in these reports because they're not able to, in my opinion, what I look at is, I said, they probably couldn't even understand what was being asked of them, what they were being required to do. Towns there were any number of towns that were heavily criticized because they took money from their general funds to address the problems of Irene. With the full expectation that, you know, we're gonna be getting some money back, we're gonna have FEMA, we're gonna have, you know, and we're gonna be able to do this. You know, the end of the year came and, you know, they hadn't been paid back, they weren't in a position to reestablish those funds. They hadn't established sub-accounts and booked the money as a loan against the sub-account, et cetera. You know, and some of these places, they're facing fines. You have to have, this day and age, we need professional accounting expertise.
And in spite of that, our comptroller audit last time was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
The target was on the ambulance issues and versus, you know, too much with the internal controls. So it's a tough one. It really is. But we'll see what happens. Resolution 271, speed limit request from Highway Superintendent.
Whereas the speed limits are concerned in many areas of the town of Plattsburgh and Clinton County. Whereas the uniform speed limit of 55 miles an hour is not often appropriate and too high on many local roads. Whereas in a letter dated September 17, 2012, from James Woods, Highway Superintendent, requesting area speed limits within the town of Plattsburgh highways without posted speed limits be evaluated for protection of life, safety, and improved traffic flow, and remain consistent within the subdivision speed limits throughout the town of Plattsburgh. It is further resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby authorize the supervisor to request and establish the area speed limits throughout the town as identified on said attached letter, and refer this request to the Clinton County Highway Superintendent and New York State Department of Transportation.
Have a motion.
I'll move.
Mr. Woods, second. Mr. Lemoyne. And this one you did not see earlier. This came to us late today. I would also note that the third whereas should end with therefore be it. Just a little bit of a technicality. Tom, Paul, any problem with amending that accordingly? As at least some of you know, we've had some real concerns with especially the Duran Road lately. And this is probably the main reason why this one's going forward. Classic example, we all always lean on our own experiences. My neighborhood was recently reclassified for a speed limit. I didn't know because there were no speed zone, there was no speed zone designation where I live. It was the state speed limit, 55. There's no way I could do 55 and not end up on a neighbor's porch. But that was the legal speed limit until it got adjusted. So sometimes, and you know, I asked Jim today, I said, you know, doesn't the state look at this, or the county, or somebody else? I said, no, it's up to the local municipalities through growth and development as they see a need, we have to submit.
But our problem is if it were left to the local community, we would be able to do it, and do it in a responsible fashion. But our problem is we've got to get permission from the Department of Transportation. And, you know, the perfect example, the first road listed in Jim's letter is the Duran Road. New York State reduced the speed limit on Route 22, going from Beekmantown to Plattsburgh. When they reduced the speed limit on that road, there was traffic moved to the Duran Road because it could go faster on the Duran Road. And now you've got a speedway on the Duran Road. You've got kids out on the shoulder of that road waiting for school buses. It's ridiculous. And the epitome of the ridiculousness of the problem is found in the last two roads that are listed. The Della Road, which is the little cut that goes from Route 3 over to the Town Miller Road, and it's so people won't have to stop at a red light. They zing through there, okay? And the last one, Woodcliff. Now, can you imagine somebody speeding on Woodcliff?
Yes.
I mean, it is.
They wouldn't be speeding if they were going 55. That's insane.
That's the problem.
That's insane.
That's the problem. They come down, you know. And the other problem they've got is, you know, they have Clinton Community College students who have found a shortcut. And they go up that road,
Is the list long?
you know, hurrying to get to college.
Or have you read it?
I would be glad to share in fact, that's a good point. That would have been wise to have been in the resolution. The roads being requested to be reviewed and evaluated are the Durand Road, Stafford Road, Quarry Road, Della, and Woodcliff. One of the last times, actually it wasn't the form previous, it was one part of that, Wayne Gagne, when he was highway superintendent, submitted a list of 40 roads. We believe that might have been a little excessive for them, if we said maybe 5 at a time. I was waiting also for you though, Marty, to publicly note the comment why the Durand Road was not adjusted when it was looked at 5 years ago. If you remember that, one of the state's criteria was that in their study, they determined, I think it was 90-some-odd% of the traffic was going 55 or more. Therefore, they're going to leave it. So as long as you're all going fast enough, they'll leave it that fast, I guess.
When in question, it shows that they just did the 2-year study, traffic study on the Tom Miller Road, and they dropped that one now.
They did drop that.
Yeah.
From 55 to 40. So just beware, because the state is going to start, troopers are going to start writing tickets on that road.
Yeah, they've got signs up and they've got a
They
yellow
got
marker
orange
on
flags
the top
on
of
it.
the sign.
You know, as long as we're slamming roads and intersections, I gotta put mine in Route 3 Smithfield Boulevard. The other day I was there, and the traffic blocking the intersection, I was the 3rd car to leave the mall. I had the light changed 5 times before I could get out of there, because the traffic
Just kept
was
coming.
blocking the intersection so that the traffic leaving the mall could not get out. The police need to start enforcing that, because somebody's gonna lose their temper, and they're gonna barrel through there because they have the light, and there's gonna be an accident.
Also note the striping that was done at the intersection with the exit 37.
Hopefully we didn't pay for that. Or the
Well,
state
that's
didn't
the
pay for it.
state. They, probably in an effort to save money, they subcontracted. We got concerned because we had a call that the cones were not up, safety, signs, men at work.
You know,
We got off 37 over the weekend, and it's terrible.
and this painting contractor chose at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday to paint that intersection.
You could wait till noon, I guess.
So they also painted a blue Mustang while he was doing it.
And they did it all when we got them off, so.
Anyway, I guess that's all the bash we need to do there. Under discussion, I'll write yes. So we'll amend as indicated, with the therefore be it, and those are the roads. And we usually do like to look at these first in a work session, but the Durand Road especially, we've had a number of requests, and away we go. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, resolution carries. That's the last item on the agenda. Does anyone have any other concerns, comments for the evening? We don't have everyone here. We do appreciate you coming. Conversation's important, input and feedback is important.
Thanks for being interactive with us. Not like a school board meeting where they sit there.
Yeah, well, it's scary sometimes because you don't know what will happen, but, some of my door's open, I'm there. Please come in sometime when we can, share, information, I can get my hands on things, and, but we do appreciate your message. We hear it, we do have that concern. We're constantly trying to juggle it with being a good business and running like a business and investing in this business. So, one of the phrases I've heard a lot of these last few years was politicians kicking the can down the road. It's and I've learned these 7 years, it's awful easy to do little or do nothing or do what's popular and let somebody else handle it in their administration. Lower rates and things that people love, get elected on, a chicken in every pot platform. It doesn't work that way. We have maybe the lowest rates on the planet for water. Our highway is excessively low. The lighting is ridiculously low. There are taxes our residents pay we can't control. And you're both experts. You know where those are coming from. You know a lot of the why. And we take it on the chin for that. But we do try to control the things we can. And it's sort of like this, adding a position like this at this time. If we didn't believe it would come back and pay dividends, we wouldn't do it. We could be wrong, and if we are, we'll have to fix it. But we can't just push it down because we'll make more friends out there in the public. And I mean that very genuine. I'm saying that, to your heart. But please, anytime, come in and talk. These are tough times. They're late. People have worked all day as you have, and it's easy to get emotional. We don't want that to happen in a public meeting. But we do appreciate you coming in and the information. Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
And if you want to talk after, I'll be here. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Mr. Lemoyne, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Dry Renadette?
Yes.
Martin Manning?
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes, we stand adjourned at 8:40 p.m.
This is just a quick, unfunded mandates, the schools are battling, all the municipalities, everything. I know Mr. Renadette signed a petition online for unfunded mandates, and I had sent an email out to everybody, and maybe you thought I was just some crazy kook, but now you know who I am, and if I send the email again, I would appreciate it if you guys, it's got a couple thousand signatures, and that's something that, we're fighting at all levels of government. So I don't know what your plan is to fight unfunded mandates. I don't know, what meetings you've attended. I've been to a lot of them. We haven't seen a lot of local folks, which is a shame. And with, Betty Little and Teresa Sayward, and I guess she's gonna be gone soon, and Janet Dupree and so on, and trying to get those things in line, because certainly that is part of the problem in New York State, and we're aware of that. But it's only gonna get solved if we all push back on them. So I don't know if you guys have a formal plan for fighting
Let me share one of the things formally that I do. I also chair the Clinton County Supervisors Association. I have a loose network of the county supervisors.
Bernie, should the cameras be
Yes,
rolling?
if it's on, it should go off. The meeting's done. We're never gonna get this on air anyway. I don't know what time they give us, but
They give you an hour, I think.
we got to the
long
first
time
resolution. One of the things that I do each year, and as frequent as needed, and this year we invited, and he came, Congressman Owens, to meet with our group, hear our concerns, as did Senator Little, Assemblywoman Dupree. I personally have liked Teresa Sayward for a long time, and she's on my list. One of our meetings, that was what all the supervisors, and that was kind of powerful, when you have every supervisor from Clinton County saying, you gotta stop this. It's also very powerful when I hear my elected officials in Albany tell me I'm trying and nothing changes. And believe me, I believe they are trying, but I believe more so, and I'll go back to what I said earlier, it works pretty well for the legislator who has a lobby group in his community. And I'll use one when I was a school principal, it was the AEDs. Suddenly, and maybe as a grandpa, I had a heart attack at school, and we can't let that ever happen again, or somebody on a ball field. So we passed legislation, the AEDs have to be everywhere to train the maintenance, and I have to cut field trips because there's no money for it.
Exactly.
I mean, those things happen all the time, and you get that powerful lobbying, and all in favor aye, and the rest of us eat it. Getting them to go back and say, no, it's okay, you don't need the AEDs, let grandpa have his heart attack, isn't gonna happen. The unfunded mandated rate reduced, and I wouldn't say if the camera was running, but I'll say it Bernie to Holly, I don't think it's gonna happen. All we can do is share and maybe slow it down. Name one that's been reversed. I'm a realist, there is. I'm not gonna spend my time on things I can't change.
It's very popular for the legislators to say, we support the repealing of unfunded mandates. But why haven't they done it? Every single one of them, to a person, has said, we think that there should be unfunded mandate relief. Why don't we have it? Why haven't we had it?
Because they have to raise income tax, they won't do it, that's it, that's key.
And they won't reverse the law.
I wrote
Well,
a
I've got to raise taxes across the board everywhere.
It's too much big government. It's too much of
62% Medicaid.
the state and the federal telling towns and schools what they need to be doing, and the decision would be better made locally.
Yeah. And Gerard's right, it's so much of a group going to big government saying, you gotta pass a law for this because we care about it. For us, it's sort of like 5 people on the road say, get the speed limit lowered. Is that what everybody wants?
At the national
It's
level,
crazy.
they had a.
Dan, this is all off the record, right?
Graham,
You got enough to write for a month.
you had to demonstrate where the money was coming from. Okay? I advocated a similar program be adopted in the state of New York in
Yes.
regards to unfunded
Yes, I'm actually
mandates.
getting it to
You
the
do not
supervisors.
pass
On that
any
Computer
legislation
before we leave tonight, so he'll be able to print it
wherein
and
you
email
don't
it
indicate
the county's
how
in electronic form. Send it
it's
to me.
going to be.
Yep, no
Right,
problem.
but I believe
No
that
problem.
that belongs to the
And since he doesn't know much about it, call me with any questions. About 18 months of working with us.
Let's say,
Yep,
this
572.
is the with down the highway, and you have to do that funky
321.
curve, or something like that. Well, if you're sitting here and you wanna.
After four is best just because we also don't fit. I spend much more time on it at work.
We had the same thing, we had the same thing down here. We had the same thing down here at the end of the, I don't wanna poke Ricky in the eye, right at the end of this, the West Hill Road, or Tom Miller Road extension. If you go down there,
By your house?
no, it's down here, right down here by Maple
When
Fields.
you look at the.
If you go down to that intersection, if you wanna make a left-hand turn, you could have a green light. And you know what? If the people are in, if there's no other traffic but somebody in the lane to turn right, that lane doesn't have a sensor. That person does not have a green light, but you do. Yet if
Whose
you,
road is that?
that's the county's also.
So should I call Al Rasco?
That's the county, there should be a green, designated green turn arrow and there's, but if they do that, they better put a red arrow for the people in that other lane.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the problem, you know, in
Because
fact,
I know
this
for a
morning,
fact-
we were getting ready to, we were at that light, and there were like a school bus, 4 cars and a school bus. I said, Rocky, you're not gonna have to take off with the bat out of hell to make this lighter, you're gonna be sitting here 3 hours waiting for all those school buses to
Yeah,
go through.
and that intersection, if I remember right, they were talking about.
At Maple Fields or?
No, the one I'm coming
On
ahead
Riverhead, yeah.
was supposed to
We just
be
like-
This thing's
dedicated.
gonna
We
save
like to
$10
get
for a
traffic,
$100,000
when we had
homeowner.
traffic.
I mean, it really is.
Only
It's
be
save 10
tripped
bucks.
when the ferry dumped.
You know, save the town
It was supposed to be a
60,000.
green light for
$10
traffic
To go through,
to go through.
and so you can't turn because you don't know if they're
Because your
gonna
tax
go
rate's
through
gonna
there.
go from an average of 24 to
So
11
that's why I
cents.
didn't know who it belonged to, because it is part on your road,
Yeah,
it's part on it, so I
that
figured it was
belongs to
probably
the
down to
Because we would not accept, we would not, the county board would never accept the responsibility for no light extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah, no, I realize that, I know they're bloody, I know they're really, really expensive.
Parts are ridiculous.
I know they're really expensive,
Right.
but I didn't know who.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm the only person that ever had a problem, I don't know, but like I said,
I
when
mentioned it
the.
to our highway superintendent, thinking he would contact Al Rasco.
I'll
Not
call
Jim,
Al.
not Fred.
I'll call him.
That's the way it is.
And now, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
You've got about 1,250 Paul, like, well,
You're still on.
yeah. We've got about 1,250 streetlights in town. And when you take, we pay $93,000 a year to rent those 1,200 lights. And I did the chart, I mean, most of them were installed in the late 50s, early 60s, some in the 70s. It's such a small percentage were installed about 90s in the 2000s. We've been renting equipment that, I showed you, $1,000 to put up a light. We've been paying that $1,000 for 50 years and continue to pay it. Unless we say, you know, enough's enough, we're gonna cut you from the cord because we paid enough for these things, and that's the only way to do it. And the only way to get control of, if we want more energy efficient lights, which I've told the board, in my expert opinion, technology hasn't met up to the price yet. I mean, you know, being energy efficient and all that, we're paying $23,000 a year for energy for it. The cost to change them out to more energy efficient ones just wouldn't pay for itself right now. Wouldn't even come close. Exactly. So, I mean, at some point, I think they probably will, but it isn't now. So I don't even lobby to even start doing that. But you do have to have, I mean, we're looking at, you know, the insurance policy has a fairly large deductible because we don't want to pay an astronomical premium. So we've basically insured ourselves for catastrophic loss, for the ice storm, that kind of thing, where 120 of these are going to come down, and we've now got to pay a contractor to go put them all up in 2 weeks. That's what we insured ourselves for. You know, I mean, to put in, to say we're going to have people from any road in the town, come to the town and say, you know what, we'd like streetlights on our road. If it's 10 of them, we get $10,000, we've got to spend to put the streetlights up. There's a, you know, you got to have that money to pay for it, to put those up somewhere. I wrestle with how much money is too much, how much money is enough in there. And I really, all I did in doing the budget I did was try and get us back to where we are now. It's up for everybody's discussion to say how much is too much and should it even be lower. If it should be lower in everybody's opinion here, that tax rate can drop even faster. It's really up to that.
What percent of your annual expenditure, your annual expenditures are what percent of the balance that you have that 350,000? What are your
It's about, well, we spend about $100,000 a year, we take in about so about over after 10 years, it's about $60,000. Yeah, but that also, like I said, after 10 years, that's why I reduced the rate 3 cents per thousand more. Because and I forget, I've got the math, but every cent per thousand, took an X amount of dollars less, and I said, once we get to this level, we don't need more money than that. And somebody, before I got here, thought that was enough money, because that's why the rate started going down in the last 10 years. They tried to say, well, that's probably enough money.
Because it seems like it's about, what you have in reserve for your area is about
I know that, but you came to the peak
roughly
$2.5 million over 10 years. Did you
that's a large amount relative.
That's what,
And I say that's the first thing for the folks here was
and I looked up the thing in the newspaper, and then I took
Well,
it to
and don't forget, I'm taking that cash reserve down to $80,000 paying for the debt, and then building it back up. And again, if we build it up to, I mean, I don't know if Marty will be here, I don't know if I'll be here. If we build it up to $150,000 and the board says, that's enough, we can lower that 11 cents per thousand down to 9 cents per thousand because we've got enough money.
It's a tricky thing when you're dealing with public
Is it
services. They are having such a hard time right now, I mean, truly, if they don't work for a local government.
or vice versa.
That's all it
I
is.
mean, it's a tough thing, it's a tough.
And we're hearing that now.
So when they see the reserve, even though it might only be $10.
Well, but $10,
Your brother.
$10 in there was-
My mother's 75 had 10 years ago.
So, yeah, I think that's.
Came to vote.
We didn't have enough meeting
Just
our
when you
obligation.
see that balance, they're saying, well, then why am I even paying anything?
I
You know,
Here.
and
agree with the way
so that's the sense of it, and it's because it is,
He cuts under
they had a house forever.
cuts,
They
pulls
can't
the
afford
Yeah, that's
stuff
good.
up,
They
he took
decide
a
whether they
piece
can
of
afford
his
to
crane
pay
out,
the
took
tax.
it back and back in, put his job back down. You can even tell he's operating.
See ya.
Holly,
Bye.
So give him a call when you think about it. He's home, and he's in great spirits, he'll have his chemo and all of that. Yeah, he said he was listening to the left, and his wife, he went for a physical, and his wife mentioned it, and I said, oops.